That's why we say humans are naturally creatures of habit. Once you create certain bad habits, it's hard to break certain bad habits because you don't see your bad habits as bad habits because you accepted your bad habits as a normality. Once you normalize certain behavior, you cannot see anything other than what you see. It's normal. Yeah, you might talk about it in front of us, but if it was abnormal, you wouldn't do it when no one else is looking. What's abnormal to you, you won't do whether you're alone or in presence of people. So it's normal to you, so therefore you do it in front of everyone. You ever see somebody, they sneak snacks and they act like they eat good in public? That's crazy diabolical.
Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. I'm not gonna lie, I like the clap. It makes me feel important. Today's episode is called Grow the Hell Up. And the reason why we decided this topic today is because we're in a world where people are young grown-ups who don't want to elevate and grow up. You know, life is about elevation, acting your age and not your shoe size, being willing to put away your childish ways, and learning that everything shouldn't revolve around you. I've come to the realization that culturally, people are fighting for power. People are fighting their insecurities. People are fighting their own beliefs, enforcing and imposing. A lot of times we have to respect other people in their spaces, so therefore, we're able to have decent and respectful conversations. We are going into a different time, and everyone should be open-minded to receive other people's thoughts and beliefs. But in order to hit each other, sometimes we gotta grow the hell up. There are a lot of deadbeat parents out here, right? A lot of deadbeat parents. They're having kids, but they're not being great examples. And then you see the kids become the adults that continue the childish behavior. A lot of people don't want to look in the mirror and see their own behaviors and their own actions and their own ways. Because sometimes I meet people that laugh at people who aren't being great examples for the people they're laughing at. So if you say that you're psychologically or physically or mentally all over across the board this strong, why aren't you being strong for the weaker? Let's look at the logic. Think about that. If I'm laughing at someone who's born with a disability and I'm not, but I don't believe that I need to help someone who is, that says volumes. The moment we get past looking out and thinking about other people is the moment we have not become human no more. Humans should have a natural audience where it's like, I need to help others if they do not have the same level of strength. When humans get back to helping other humans, the world will become a better place. Because sometimes while we're looking in other windows, we're not cleaning up our own homes. You're constantly watching someone else's window, but you're not looking in your own home. The other day, a guy asked me, what do you think is the number one reason why people are failing? I said, because people don't understand family. They don't understand family, right? When you bring back that term family, you'll bring back a term of love, right? Because again, you have people out here searching for acceptance from people who don't even accept them in their own homes. You're fighting your own child who's trying to figure out themselves. You're fighting your sister, your brother, your mother, your aunts, your uncles. Everyone has their ways. But sometimes I think the ultimate way of love is showing love is by accepting people for who they are. The other day I said a statement and the guy looked at me and said, that makes sense. I'm gonna tell you why most times potential don't surface. Watch this. The reason why most times potential don't surface is because naturally a motivated person looks for the person in them. So if therefore you say something like, damn, if I was in your position, I would have did this. So sometimes you're looking for the potential that you see if you were in that situation. So therefore you don't see potential. You're seeing what you would do if you were that person in that situation. So sometimes you put people in spaces they're not even made for. Oh my God, if I was you, I would have. So therefore you see the potential of the situation. That if you had that situation, therefore you would do it. That's not potential, that's falsified. And then when a person never reaches the potential, then you complain about the person not doing exactly what they could have done. Stop looking for yourself in people. Stop looking for yourself in people. We got to grow up. When I learned that I can't force a person to be me. Imagine me dating someone, and I'm very vocal, and dating someone who's not vocal and forcing them to be vocal. I think that's diabolical because you're making someone they're not. And genuinely, I believe in most cases, opposites attract for a reason because the opposite naturally gives you your balance. And when you get your balance, you tend to be more subtle. Because if you're aggressive and you're dating someone aggressive, imagine two aggressive people dating. So let's just say hypothetically they get into an argument with another couple. What would that aggressive couple do? They're going to act a fool. They're going to act a fool. It's about to get lit. Because again, someone has to be that person say, whoa, 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 Kenzie, you're wilding. If someone's not doing that, you're going to continue to not see how we behave. We got to grow the hell up, right? We place the blame on children, development, and educators as step on themselves. Parents these days will blame the educators, but not blame themselves for what we're creating. You got a bunch of broken adults creating broken children. You got a bunch of people who haven't figured out themselves, wanting their children to figure out themselves. It is harder to learn myself when my parent hasn't even learned himself. Look at the world. You have grown-ups that want to behave like their children. We call it the second childhood. There are a lot of people that are trying to live their second childhood. The other day, my boy asked his girlfriend, I'm going to be honest, she's going to get mad when she hear this, but I don't give a damn. She said, damn. He said to her the other day, I got a question for you. She said, what? He said, did you grow up with a mother that was married? She said, no. He said, have you ever been married? She said, no. He said, how would you learn how to be married if you never saw it, nor you don't read or try to learn how to be a good wife? She got pissed. She got pissed because he invited her to elevate her mentality. That's the new generation of people. They don't want to hear anything because whatever I think is what I think and nobody can tell me no more than what I think. If that's not a narcissist, I don't know what is. Because naturally you should be willing and open-minded to hearing, to learn. I think the greatest individual on earth is one who's willing to learn. Knowledge is completely the power. But no one can learn something that they're not willing to learn. Sometimes we have to undigest bad information that we may have been digested or we've been force-fed. There are a lot of us that believe what we've been taught, meanwhile we could have been taught wrong. So therefore we only practice in what we've been taught. I can't be mad at somebody for shooting the ball wrong when they were taught how to shoot the ball wrong. You have to be taught the game to know how to play the game. So the game a lot of people play is what they've been taught, right? And this is the issue. I'm watching people buy things like paying for the moose knuckle jackets, right? The North Faces, the what else you got? The Balenciaga shoes and the Mary clothes and all of these expensive items. Why? Because the adults, right, who was materialistic, what they did was push that same mentality onto the next generation who are ultimately still materialistic. You've created this materialistic person. Today I was talking to a lady in my store. I said to her, why don't you buy your children stocks rather than buying them clothes and shoes? She looked at me and said, what? I said, why don't you buy them stocks rather than clothes and shoes? Because a kid don't care about the shoes. When you create that mentality, then the kid will feel like they're not respected or good if they don't wear these material things. You teach that mentality. You force it on them into believing this mentality. And then they get older believing that I am not worthy if I do not wear an expensive pair of shoes. Who created this mentality? Who the one that told them? Someone is telling them that they're not good enough because of materialism. But again, this is one of the reasons why I think in a school system, I think all school systems should have something called dress codes. And the reason why I believe that is because they'll spend less time worrying about clothes and shoes. I believe that's why I like private schools when it comes to the dress code. I do like that aspect. Charter schools, I mean. And the reason why I like it is because of that, right? There's a dress code. You have to wear a uniform. So it's less time to be worried about anything else. If you go outside the country, right, let's say to Jamaica, right, those kids wear uniforms. But ask yourself why? Because now you're not being ostracized for the fact that you do not wear or have the nice things that everyone else has. Y'all all look the same. So therefore, what is there to laugh about or tease? This is the bullying, right? We got to learn how to grow the hell up. We got to grow up. You know, when I see people who are uncomfortable being themselves, I look at them like, damn, this did not just start overnight. This has been a long time coming. A long time coming, right? When we played basketball when I was kids, we had something called skins and shirts, right? Some of the heavier set people didn't want to take off their shirt. And I would see it right there, would say to myself, damn, you know you're uncomfortable taking off your shirt. Why don't you work on yourself today? Because you're not comfortable taking off your shirt. But if you say that to somebody now, you're body shaming. Is that body shaming? Or is just raising the person awareness that you're clearly not comfortable the way you are? Because you don't want no one to see you the way you are. So therefore, why don't you work on yourself? But if I say that, I become the demon or the bad person, supervillain. Am I really the supervillain? I'm just trying to raise your awareness to help you with your comfort. I'll give you a story. My son, when he was younger, right? He was a little chubby. And I saw that, I took him to my friend's pool. And when I took him to the pool, I noticed he didn't want to get in the pool. And I said to him, why you don't want to get in the pool? So I just watched him. I realized my son was uncomfortable to take off his shirt to get in the pool. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do something with this guy. We was going into the last month. It was the summertime. And it was like days away from school being out. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start taking you to the gym and I'm working out every single day with you so you can be comfortable enough to take off your shirt. So you know what happened? The following summer, right, my son was the first person in the pool. Why? Because I realized his insecurities. Rather than disrespect him or ostracize him or make him feel bad about it, I said, let me do something to help them. Because that's what the world should be at this point. Some people get offended when you tell them to read because they're uncomfortable with reading. They might not be that great at it. So if you tell, maybe my boy, when he told his girl you should read to learn how to be a wife, maybe she's not a great reader. But if you read with her, maybe she might be more confident to read. I think that's what we need to learn. Every human has flaws, levels. Everyone has their shortcomings and everything else in between. But if we can't speak on what our shortcomings are in a room full of people who also have shortcomings, then what are we doing? I'm not going to play perfect for the world to see me perfect when I know I'm far from perfect. Because when I fail, someone will laugh. But I'm willing to tell you my flaws. I'm willing to tell you my mistakes. I'm willing to tell you my decisions. I'm not the greatest person on earth. But I'm comfortable with being honest with my truth. But some people aren't. Some people aren't. Because we don't want to grow up. There are people who are still hiding behind their childish ways, never grown into adult ways. I'm going to give you a scenario. Watch this. There's a girl. She grew up with her mother paying all the bills, right? Then she left her mother, went to a guy who paid all the bills. The guy never felt received or loved or appreciated because the fact that the girl never struggled, right? So naturally, her going from her mother to him, she don't know struggle. So therefore, she never appreciated him like that. But in her mind, she thought she was more successful than what she truly is because her mother carries her. So fast forward, he would say things to her like, yo, I don't feel you appreciate me. I don't feel you value me. Technically, she don't because she don't know how because she never ever felt struggle. So to her, this is just natural. But also, let's flip the roles. That guy grew up struggling. So naturally, if a woman helps him financially, he appreciates her more because he grew up struggling his whole life. But to tell her you love her, you know how he has to do it? He has to give her time, affection, and attention. That's what her mother couldn't give her. So therefore, she appreciates that so much more because of the fact that she didn't get those things. So to her, affection, attention, and love, right, being near, quality time is her way of being loved. So I had to break it down to him. He said, damn, I never thought about it. I said, most people don't think. We take our one lens and we make it the world's lens. But that's when the world fails because everyone has different ideologies and thinking. We think completely different. It's normal to think different. But when you're talking to grown-ups should be able to have a comfortable, uncomfortable conversation until they become comfortable with the uncomfortable conversation. Let me say that one more time. Grown-ups should be comfortable to have an uncomfortable conversation until the conversation becomes comfortable. Otherwise, if you're forcing how you feel on me, you are ever bit of a narcissist. I'm sorry. Heavy on the narcissism in 2025. There are a lot of people who are very narcissistic. Very narcissistic. Because in order for us to respect each other, we got to hear each other. And if I can't hear you, if you don't want to hear me, I'm telling you right now, I'm not hearing you. I'm telling you off the rip. I don't care who you want to be. If you don't want to hear me, I'm damn sure not hearing you. So naturally, when a person says, yo, this person don't hear me, I'm saying because maybe you don't hear them too. So y'all not communicating properly or respectfully, so therefore this person is automatically tuning you out. The same way you tune them out. We learn that as kids. When your parents talk too much, we go womp, 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 right? We learn it. So I'm tuning you out the same way you're tuning me out. So let's receive and respect each other. Therefore, as adults, we can have something called a great conversation. Because last time I checked, a conversation is a two-way street. Two-way street. Two-way street. People play and pretend on social media. Y'all got to grow the hell up. I'm going to say that again. People that play, pretend on social media, y'all got to grow the hell up. Right? We're in a time right now where I think pretending to be successful is one of the number one factors on social media in this world. Is a lot of people who don't realize that the more time you spend on pretending is the more time you won't be. Because the energy that you spend on pretending, you could be spending on becoming, therefore becoming. I never understood this, why people act like they got money and they use the money that they do make to look like they got money, but they believe later on they're gonna have money. I never understood that. Let me say that again. People that pretend like they got money, right, act like they got so much money, then people see them like they have money, but they never have money. And I'm like, damn, what's gonna come of you acting like you got money? I don't understand it. And that's not a culture thing, that's a person, individual thing. I know men that do it, women that do it, white women, black women, I know them all. I know white women that wear fake bags and black women that wear fake bags. I know black men that wear fake shoes and I know white boys that wear fake shoes. We talking about across the board culturally. It's all across the board because I genuinely believe that this is a heavy level on insecurity. A lot of people are very insecure. Very insecure, and the next word that rhymes with insecure is immature. Heavy on immaturity. Because if you can't have a conversation with someone that makes you uncomfortable, then you are not a grown-up. Because think about it, as a child, when someone said you did something you want to hear, what did you do? You acted out, right? So if you're an adult and you're still acting out because someone is saying something about you that you may not see, because naturally, right? I'm gonna ask you a question. If I stand this close to an elephant, can I see how big the elephant is? But if I step away from the elephant, can I see it? You see how big it is too, right? That's what happens with some people. When you take yourself away from yourself, you'll be able to see yourself better. And naturally, the person that's looking at you can see you better than you can see yourself. I'm talking about naturally. I can see you better than you can see yourself. Because you may reflect the way that how you are or how you feel around me. But that don't mean that's naturally how you feel. Because you say you're this confident man don't mean you're this confident man. Because you say you're this confident woman don't mean you're this confident woman. Confidence is a reflection of being in an uncomfortable situation and still showing that level of confidence. Just imagine being the only black man that walk in a room full of nothing but white guys and you still feel confident. That's confidence. And still able to be yourself without switching to try to be something to fit the room, but being yourself. That's confidence. That's real confidence. Same with a woman. Imagine a woman walking into a room, speaking in front of men and still feel confident enough to stand on her own without trying to overstep or overstate to be too much. Some people do too much because they just feel insecure. You can look at some people like, you're not confident. You're pretending. It's posing. It's not real. It's not real. Just be yourself. It's okay. And naturally, the real humans will come. I think the more you pretend to be someone you're not, the more you're going to have people that come around you that's pretending to be someone they're not. It's the laws of attraction. It's the laws of attraction, right? And I got to say this, right? Naturally, watch this. A human, they don't lure who they pretend to be. They lure who they are. So you ever see a guy, Chris, who acts very confident, but he always get girls that's weak? It's because he's weak. He's fronting like he's tough. He's not that guy, right? You ever see a guy that's strong and he gets a strong woman? It's because he's really strong. You lure who you are, not who you pretend to be. Humans naturally lure friends, relationships, everything that usually come in their personal life is exactly who they truly are. They're naturally alluring who they are. So if a woman tells me, hey, all these guys are bums, I'm like, maybe you need to fix something in self. If a man say all these women are bums, I'm like, damn, maybe you need to fix something in yourself. Because there's something about you that's luring these type of people. Maybe you got an overly nurturing, I feel sorry for everybody, right? I said today, when dealing with potential, a lot of times we see ourselves in people and then we believe that's potential. Let me say it again. A lot of times we pretend, not pretend rather, we look at people and we see ourselves in people. And then we believe because what I see you being, I believe that you can be that. But the problem is that person don't see themselves being. Potential is that person that get up and go shoveling just because it's like, I don't want to depend on nobody. That's potential. Potential is you don't have to tell a person, did you push out your resume? That's potential when that person is pushing out their own resume. You don't have to tell them to do the small things. Right? If I got to tell you to do the small things, that's not potential. Because in order for you to get to the big things, you got to be willing to do the small things. And usually the small things are what get you to being into the bigger rooms. So if I got to tell you, did you go to the gym? That means you don't like to work out. You should naturally look at it as this is a person-to-person thing. I go in the gym with a group of guys and they say to me, yo, Q, where's your group of guys at? I always say this in response, I'm here. Because fitness is a self thing. It's not a team thing. It's a self thing, right? It's a self thing. So I want myself to be healthy. I don't mind if someone don't show up because I show up and I show out. Because when you learn that everything is about what you do for yourself, it's not about others. But again, we cannot change, right? Because we don't want to grow up. A lot of us are living in our childish ways forever. It's sad. I had a conversation with a guy. He gonna hate me, but I don't care. I want y'all to hear this. He gonna get mad. But guess what? I'm blowing him up. So I went through a situation with a particular apartment. And a guy asked me, can I get the apartment? Put me on the phone with his mom. We all had a conversation. I said, you know what? I'm gonna give you the apartment. He said, thank you, I appreciate it because I gotta find somewhere to go and blah, blah, blah. I said, all right, no problem. I told him at the end of the month, he said he wasn't gonna be ready to move into the apartment for 3 months. I said, for the next 3 months, I will pay half of your rent, right? Until you move in on the 4th month. He goes, you'll do that for me? I said, yeah. I said, but I'm expecting you to move in on the 3rd month. He goes, no problem. We get to the end of the month where he's supposed to pay his half. He never says nothing. We talking about 4 weeks. He never said nothing, not one word. On the 4th week, when it's time to pay, I'm like, yo, bro, when are you gonna give me half the money to pay the rent? He looked at me in my face and was like, yo, you know what? I decided I'm not gonna take the apartment. So I said to him, question, at what point in those weeks did you feel the need to tell me that you weren't gonna take the apartment? He said, nah, I had a conversation with my mother 3 weeks ago and she told me that you shouldn't do it. I said, how many days is in a week? He said 7. I said, 7 times 3 is what? He said 21. I said, in 21 days, you didn't feel obligated to tell me that you were not gonna take this apartment. And yet still I'm not supposed to be mad at you. He goes, nah, but Q, don't look at it like that. So I'm gonna look at it exactly the way you are. Because if the roles were reversed, you would feel away. So today I feel away and I said, now, here's my problem. I kept looking for the potential in him that I kept seeing in myself. Because if I was in his situation, I kept judging him based on what I would do. And that's what happens as adults. We always look for what we would do from others. And you'll be disappointed 1,000 times because potential is usually, in most cases, the willingness to do the things that matter for yourself. You don't have to push somebody. A teacher, let's use a classroom setting. A teacher can see a kid that has potential because even if they get a 65, you know they work hard for that damn 65. That's potential. It's not that they're doing bad in the class, it's just their work it may be harder for them. But you know they're studying, you know they're going home, hitting that homework, you know they're going at it. That's potential. And now I see what it is. It took me a while to learn, like, wait, I'm pushing what I feel on myself onto people who are lazy, people who are inconsistent, people who are inconsiderate, people who don't want much from life. Because naturally, in most cases, people are a reflection of their life's decisions. They say when you're young, you look like your parents. But as you get older, you start looking like your life's decisions. And most people look like their life decisions based on a poor performance, Dre. It's just the truth. So I said to myself, like, you got to stop feeling sorry for people, because what happens is you get let down too many times is because of the fact that you keep trying to help people that don't want to help themselves. You can't drag somebody to the gym. You can't force somebody to eat better, because when you're not looking, they're going to go back to doing exactly what they normally do. That's why we say humans are naturally creatures of habit. Once you create certain bad habits, it's hard to break certain bad habits, because you don't see your bad habits as bad habits, because you accepted your bad habits as a normality. Once you normalize certain behavior, you cannot see anything other than what you see. It's normal. Yeah, you might talk about it in front of us, but if it was abnormal, you wouldn't do it when no one else is looking. What's abnormal to you, you won't do whether you're alone or in presence of people. So it's normal to you, so therefore you do it in front of everyone. Well, you ever see somebody, they sneak snacks and they act like they eat good in public? That's crazy diabolical. That is crazy. Look at that, Chris. Imagine a person around everybody, they act like they eat so healthy, and then they go in their little room and snack away. I'm like, come on, fam. Come on, fam. Like, bro, it's okay. Sis is okay. You ain't gaining weight because you just looking at food. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, Q, I do that too.
We got to grow up as far as, now, I'm a snacker too. I'm not going to lie. I'll snack. I'm not ashamed. Stop looking at me like that. I'm a snacker. I do like snacking, right? Look at this. And this is the scariest thing. Today, me and my boy was talking, and I'm nervous with the new state of the new next generation. And the reason being is because the world has gotten so expensive that we don't see that we need to make better decisions in this economy. You're not able to enjoy the luxuries of traveling the world because you're on your mother and father's dime. But yet and still they do it. Ultimately losing time and waking up one day realizing that they were never in a position that they thought they were in. I always believe, and I'm going to say this on record, to hell with you, whatever your sexual preference is, cool. But I always believe that it takes two. I believe that two people working together will always elevate higher than one. I genuinely feel that way. And the reason why I say I feel that way is because naturally, when you're an individual performing by yourself, playing by yourself, you'll run out of gas. You'll lose enthusiasm. You'll lose steam. But I genuinely believe that your partner should be the inspiration to you when you're not feeling it. Those days you don't want to get up. Those days you don't want to do more. If your mate is not inspiring, that means they're sucking you dry. And energy is passed on, right? It's frequencies, right? So if I'm touching you with a bad spirit, I could pass my negative energy on you. You ever got a phone call and somebody call you to talk about somebody else, and it feels like you're in that conversation to the point when you get off that call, you feel mad at the world? That's how you know we transfer energy when we're having conversations, right? This is what you have to be mindful of. As an adult, you can't entertain negative conversations and wonder why your life is so negative. There are a lot of adults that will entertain negative conversations. You know what I don't like about society today? And I'm going to be honest. It takes a very strong person to deal with me. Why? Because I have an old school mentality. I'm not going to say nothing behind your back that I won't say to your face. I'm going to say that again. I have an old school mentality. I won't say anything behind your back that I won't say to your face. And it's not about being tough. It's not about being strong. I want to be able to look you in your face and say, damn, I did say that. Because if the person run it back, right, I want to be able to be honest. I did say it. But what would be nice is, did the person tell you what they said also? That's the next question. Dun, dun, dun. Now you start hearing birds chirp. I'm like, I get it. I did say that. But ask yourself, what did the person say when I said that about you? Sometimes the message is the diabolical person. We in an era right now where adults gossip like children. Sometimes I look at the world as I think like a damn playground. It's a cafeteria. It's a schoolyard. People act like children. All this gossip, but they don't want to address the elephant in the rooms. I'm gonna tell you something, and I realized it. I'm the family member that a lot of family members what can be considered, you ever heard the term the black sheep? I'm that family member. And the reason why is because I'm the one that will always tell the truth. So let's just say 2 of my siblings got into it. I know how they both personality is. So if one call my phone, the other call my phone, I hear them both out. You know what I say? Damn, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I know you do stuff like that all the time. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, but I know you do stuff like this all the time. I can't stand someone that'll know your personality and act like they don't know who you are when they're having an argument with somebody else. But then when they get in an argument with that person and they call your phone, they expect you to just jump on their side. Meanwhile, you didn't tell the last person the truth when it came to me. I don't like people like that. We got to get back to telling the truth. I think the world is getting sicker and sicker by the moment because people are so insecure with hearing the truth. But I'm gonna tell you something. If you're scared to tell someone the truth, it's because you're maybe having a conversation with a narcissist. Think about that narrative. I can't tell you how I genuinely feel without you getting mad. But you say you respect me. But you want me to respect your opinion. That doesn't make sense to me. I can't understand that. But the man said, I can't get jiggy with that. I can't get jiggy with that. I'm sorry. I cannot get jiggy with me lowering down how I feel because it's going to make you uncomfortable. I don't think I should impose on and impede on you, but I think I should be able to say how I genuinely feel, and we should respect each other. I think society is not like that anymore. I think the world is all about Kappa Phi Kappa, I call it. That's a new sorority and fraternity. Kappa Phi Kappa. Lie to each other. And guess what? The Kappa Phi Kappa is unisex. Anybody can join it. It's unisex. Anybody can join it because the world is heavy on the cap. And this is the problem. When you get people who will go to a person and tell them something that they want to hear because they're scared of what they need to tell them, then you got a problem. You need to really evaluate who you having conversations with when you can't tell a person how you genuinely feel. I think the healthiest friendship and relationship is 2 people that's honest with themselves. And no matter how this conversation makes me feel, I'm going to respect your opinion. Because naturally, life is about agreeing to disagree at times. We can't always be in agreement, but sometimes I have to respect you. I just don't agree with you. And you got to respect that. I don't agree with you. But there's no love lost, right? That's all it is. Sacrificing to buy a home, guys. Sacrificing to buy a home. Look at that narrative. I've witnessed the numbers trickle down as far as home ownership because people are so caught up in renting an Airbnb on vacation that they care about their personal living situation. You tell me that's grown? That's not diabolical? Where you'll think about this. You go on vacation, right? You take your camera and you walk around a hotel room, right? And you feel like the man, what happened? You walk around a hotel room, and now you're showing your Airbnb, but you don't want to show your personal living situation. Damn. I thought it would be better to be inspired to give yourself a better living situation than to give yourself an Airbnb for a temporary. Airbnb is the same thing as going to Avis Enterprise and rent a car. It's the same thing. It's not mine. I got to give it back sooner or later. Sooner or later. You got to give it back. You got to give it back. But again, we want to look like we are these celebrities without actually putting in the work of a lot of these celebrities. Listen, you have every bit of right in your own head. Somebody said the math ain't mathing. I want y'all to hear this right here. The age group of the highest level of debt is typically between the age of 40 and 49 years old. Right? This is because people in their age range are often the peak earning years. Just because you make more money don't mean you have to spend more money. Just because you make more money don't mean you have to spend more money. People tell me, how can a person remain successful? I said, if a person was good at 40K, why do you have to live a lifestyle of a person that makes 100K? If you can keep your lifestyle modest, you will stay and retain riches. If you can keep your lifestyle modest, you will get rich. The people that live so extravagant, This is the reason why they lose. And there's a guy I know personally, right? He lost a couple things. He said to me, oh my God, I lost. I said, watch this. I'm going to give you 3 years. You're back atop ahead of most 90% of the world again. 3 years, 2 years maybe. Life is about falling off. I fell off and lost everything 1,000 times. If I go into the details of how much I've lost and how many times I lost, but the one thing I never did is give up on myself. I never gave up. I shook it off and said, you know what? This is a learning experience. I need to learn. I got partners who screwed me over. I got family who robbed me for 6 figures in money. Talking 100K. A sibling, like we talking about. I can go into details of things I've gone through in my life because of the fact that I want to grind and do more, and the world will always kick the person, right, that always want to help others. When you have a heart, sometimes people take advantage of it. Because again, when you know that you're a good person, I'm gonna tell you something. Sometimes in life, God don't want you to help people. Sometimes he said, get away from that person and pray for them. God wants you to get away from some people and just pray for them. Some people aren't meant to be in your life, right? Let me explain this credit thing right here. I wanna go with this. Credit card debt. People at age 40 to 49 have the highest credit card balances in the country. 40 to 49, right? 40 to 49, they have so much credit card debt. The total debt between the ages of 43 and 58, Generation X, have the highest total debt. This includes debt from auto loans, credit cards, mortgages, and student loans. But I want to eliminate mortgages. And the reason why I say that, because you got to pay to live somewhere. I want to say that because you got to pay to live somewhere. And I would rather pay, because I want to explain something to you. When you buy a home, matter of fact, when you rent a home, the landlord gets paid 3 times off you. The landlord makes 3 times money off you. 3 times. Just so y'all hear me. When you rent a home, the landlord makes money off you 3 times. 3 times. I told you this how, right? The number one way, the first way they make money off of you is you pay your RENT. Guys, what is RENT? Rent. You pay your rent, right? The second way they make money off of you is when you first start a mortgage, right? The debt is here, the equity is here. And every time you pay your mortgage, you go like this, right? You go like this. So that's the second payment they're making off of you. So the rent that you're giving them is going into their debt versus their equity. So the equity is going up while the debt is going down. And eventually they pass the debt, right? The third way the landlord makes money off of you, right, is the asset appreciates in value. And as the asset appreciates in value, that is the third way the landlord makes money off you. So let's say hypothetically you moved into this place, the place is worth $300,000. Say you stay there 10 years, by the time you leave it's worth $500,000. That means the landlord made $200,000 in appreciation. They have 10 years paid into their equity, right? And lastly, they got a rent, which is a cash flow for you for the last 10 years. So they won 3 times off of you. Damn. Damn. But again, we don't talk about these things as adults. Because you know why? I genuinely believe that most people, considerably adults, they are uncomfortable talking about financial conversations. I think that's something we need to normalize as adults. Having comfort of getting uncomfortable with uncomfortable conversations. It's okay to be uncomfortable. My favorite analogy in life, and I always tell my guys is this. Imagine walking into a room with a language that you don't understand, not one word. When you look at the average person, they will leave that room before they learn the language. But if you stay in that room, you ultimately eventually learn the language. Most people won't stay in a room that they don't understand long enough to learn something new. And I think that's why people fail, because when you become, quote unquote, an adult, you stop learning. And when you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, you become stagnant. And when you become stagnant, you get comfortable in your bad position and then complaining about the world, but not seeing that you are the gatekeeper to your success. Everyone can't be a millionaire, but everyone can be comfortable. Hence making the right decisions with their finances, right? I got a couple right now. It's 2 couples. I brought them together. You know what they're doing together? They buying a house together, and they barely know each other. You know how these 2 people met each other? Through me. So you got a couple that's buying a multi-family house in Queens right now because I told them it's the best thing for y'all to do. He's renting over there for $3,200. She's renting over there for $3,200. They moving together. Guess what they paying now? $2,100 and $2,100. Sounds like they save about $1,000 a month each. And guess what? Now they're building equity. And guess what they can do if they want to get nastier? They could use the basement as a common ground, common neutral, or B, rent the whole damn basement out. And if they rent the basement out, guess what will happen? Now they're only paying $700, $800 a month apiece. See, this is business, guys. We got to understand that you got to make your life as a business as an adult. We can't personalize all the politics and the things that's going on. Learn to only care about the things that you can control. When you spend too much money, time, and energy on things you can't control, you'll start going crazy. Let me say that again. If you spend too much time and energy on things you can't control, you'll start going crazy. A lot of people spend way too much time on things they cannot control.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Too many people spend way too much time and energy on things they can't control. And they don't realize by you spending all this time on the things you can't control, you're not controlling the things that you can control. You're worried about every other thing other than what you can control. Right? And that's a problem within itself. You know that you cannot change what's going on with the presidency. But you can change what's going on in your home. You can change what's going on in your home. Right? I don't understand why are parents kicking the kids out. Why are you kicking your kids out when we know these kids need the help? And not only that, that should give to you the more help also. The cost of buying a home right now is so goddamn expensive that the average young person will never be able to buy a house. You know the conversations people don't have? And I want everybody on my live to answer this right now. Guys in the studio, don't say nothing. What is the average age of a millionaire? On my live, what is the average age of a millionaire? I'm going to wait. Someone on my live, answer that question. What is the average age of a millionaire? Someone said 50. Okay, keep going. Someone said 52. Keep going. Someone said 50s. Someone said 45. Someone said 25. Someone said 50, 60. Right? I'm going to answer this question. Someone said 60. Someone said 50. I'm going to get one more person. One more person said age. One more person said age. Someone said 30. Right? That's cap. Young people ain't getting money. It's a lie. Young people are good at acting like they're making money. Young people don't have money the way y'all think they do. It's cap. Trust me. 100% facts. Because if a person is making money, why they not getting assets? Naturally, if a person making so much money, why they don't have no assets? You will look at liabilities as wealth. They have cars and junk and clothes and shoes and garbage. They don't make money. They look like they're making money. And naturally, most of them aren't even the head of their household. So when you see that young person that look like they're so rich and successful, find out their living situation. You'll find out they live in a room at their parents' house and their parents allow them to use all their money to look like they got money. And I'm going to tell you the age. The average age of a millionaire, you know what age is? Tell me what you say. 60, what you got? What you got? What you got? It's 61 years old. The average millionaire is 61. So to all my young people in the world that think they're going to be rich by tomorrow, damn. It's not by design. It's all fake. Y'all get so caught up in smoke and mirrors that you can't even see that a lot of people that think that they're doing bad, it's the table. There are a lot of people that think they're doing bad, they're actually doing better than people that's pretending that they're doing good. Let me say that again. A lot of people who think they're doing bad are actually doing better than people that pretend like they're doing good. But they think they're doing so bad. Because you know why? Social media gives us a lens of comparison. Our whole life is about comparing. Oh my God, Johnny got the new Ferrari, but Johnny hates the damn car note. And every month he hides the goddamn car because he don't want people to know that he's struggling with the damn note.
I know I've been talking a lot, but comparison's a thief of joy.
Comparisons is the thief of joy. And you got to realize that when you comparing yourself, right? Don't get me wrong. I think the only thing you should do is be inspired by people. But you got to be conscious of who you're getting inspired by. Because believe you me, more people are full of crap than they're not. Most people are smoke and mirrors and imagery. It is so easy to pretend you're winning in a room full of people who don't believe they can win. Let me say that again. It is so easy to pretend you're winning, right? When you're in a room full of people who are pretending that they're winning. Everyone is capping. You're winning a room. I stopped going to a lot of real estate mixers. And I'm going to tell you why. I go into a real estate mixer, and I know all the heavy hitters in real estate, for the most part up in this area. I know all of them, especially if they're black. I know them. Right? I know who's really doing things. I know who got things going on. I know who dumping deals to. I know for the most part the heavy people. From the title companies, I know a lot of them. But when you go in these rooms, you'll sit there and talk to somebody. They'll walk up to you, yeah, I'm the one that's moving all these deals. And I'm like, what's your name? And then I'll call all the neutral people I know, right? And no one knows. It's like the tree. If a tree falls deep in the forest, did it make a noise? Did it make any noise? So I ask myself, like, you say you're doing all these things, and there's a forest full of people, and no one hears the noise. I don't know about that. Damn. I don't know about that one. If you make a noise, people gonna know. People gonna know. Because the world is a lot smaller than we genuinely believe it is. But one thing I will say is, don't get so caught up on looking for what others are doing. Get caught up in what you're not doing for yourself. An adult has to understand that at a certain age, you got to focus on yourself. We got to start focusing on ourselves. Too many of us are focused on other people's imagery to the point we can't see our own. A guy see me the other day walking. You know what he said to me? Damn, bro, times must be hard. You know what I looked at him and said? Times are hard as hell. And I'm luckily that it's not hard for me though. But in the same breath, I understand what other people are going through. When you start losing, right, your mind start making you believe that you're this high horse person, you'll realize you're the next to fall off. I think everyone that retains and gets some level of success, they have an extreme level of humility next to them. If you don't retain humility, you will fall off as fast as you got there. So if you can't walk somewhere, right, which God gave you 2 legs, 2 feet, right? They say the one-eyed man is the king in the village of the blind. So I don't want to be the guy, but God gave me 2 legs that I could walk. And I'm going to ignore the fact that I can walk. Like when you get to that point, you already failed. Reprogramming your mind to understand where's humility, humbleness, gratefulness. Why do we need to look like we're so far ahead financially? You can sit on a train right now with somebody that's worth $30 million and you won't even know because they probably got on a dated jacket that's 6 generations old, a pair of shoes that don't matter. Meanwhile, you're like, he's a bum. Yeah, he's a bum if you get to know him. He making you look stupid. He making you look stupid, right? But again, we don't like these conversations. I told a guy, I said, when you go live in your Airbnb, I'll go live in my master bedroom and we'll see what's better. He looked at me like I was scared. I said, no, because you so caught up in trying to look like something that you won't become it. This new generation of adults are people that's so caught up in social media to the point that media is controlling their lifestyle. They're so captivated by what other people think. Who the hell cares? You know the best thing about my life right now? My children think I'm a goddamn superstar. I come home, my daughter said, Daddy, I missed you. I always say this statement, when I die, I want you to bury me like this. You know why? Because when you look at me, right, I want you to see my hands are empty. And I want you to understand that nothing we make on this earth you can't take with you. But you will take with you the people, life you impacted. No one's gonna give a damn about how much money you made. No one's gonna give a damn about the car. I have never seen nobody get buried with a Rolls Royce in their goddamn tomb. No one cares. You know what people will say? Damn, I remember when I didn't believe in myself, he inspired me. Damn, he made me get up, get out, and go do something. Damn, I believe in myself more. They're gonna remember all of those things, not the money. Because if you notice, I'm watching people go through something called probate. Anyone understands real estate, they understand probate. Probate, right? It's good. When you go to probate, a lot of these people that go to probate, I want y'all to hear this, good. You watch as fast as these people get their grandparents, their parents, their mothers and dads' houses, as fast as they got it, these parents work 30 years plus to get rid of these mortgages. And as these kids sell their houses in 30 minutes. 30 minutes. And you know what they do when they get that money? They blow it in 30 seconds. This is the new culture. And it's sad. They're going to use their money to go spend it on looking like they got money on vacations, traveling the world, wasting their bread. This is a sad mentality. In 2022, the homeownership rate for millennials reached 51.5%, making them the majority of millennial homeowners for the first time. However, millennials are still buying homes more slowly than previous generations. Factors affecting millennials' homeownership is delayed milestones. A lot of us got to learn that delayed gratification is the ultimate best gratification. We don't believe in delayed gratification. We want things today. I got a guy, and I'm laughing. His girl said he not a real man because he didn't buy her some shoes that cost $1,700. You know what I said to him? Yo, Jay, give me a $5. This is what I did to him. I said, I guess we both ain't worth it because I ain't doing it either. I am not buying nobody those $1,700 damn shoes. They better be able to walk for you. Damn. Listen, if I'm gonna buy you some $1,700 shoes, they better be able to walk for you. It don't make no goddamn sense. And the sad part is people will go in, and I want y'all to hear this good. That credit card thing, right, is dangerous. And I'm gonna tell you why it's dangerous. Because you don't feel it. If you ever took $1 out your pocket and spent it, you feel it, right? But that credit card, you don't feel it. Right? You don't feel it until that bill come, that statement come in. Then you're like, damn, I owe them $3,700. I owe them $4,000. I owe them $5,000. And that's why a lot of people are failing because they use that plastic too much. They use the plastic too much. Yes, and on top of it, the interest on it is diabolical. I want to give y'all a quick say. I want to say this to all my adults. Be careful of anyone that's offering you business credit. And the reason why I say this, stay with me. Business credit is not governed the same as personal credit. So what happens is when you take on business credit, they can charge you a higher interest rate and they still make your personal life as the personal guarantor for the money. So let's just say hypothetically, I could get you $100,000 in business funding. You take on this business funding. But if it was your personal, it's say if it was 17, 18%. But on business credit, it could be 30%. They're doubling how much they're charging you for the same money. And if you default, guess what it does? It hits your personal credit. It is the same thing. So you might as well have it in your personal name. Because a lot of these times I'm watching these people get this business funding and it's not making sense. The rates don't make sense. I'm gonna tell y'all something. Life is not about borrowing money. It's about how much you gotta pay back to borrow money. Now we have a different conversation. Life is not about borrowing money. It's about how much you gotta pay back to borrow the money. That's the real problem, right? Factors affecting millennials' home ownership. Delayed milestones. Only 42% of millennials own homes by the age of 30, compared to 48% of Gen X and 51% of baby boomers. Right now, baby boomers are multimillionaires because of real estate and the appreciation of real estate. It's not that your mother and father was better, it's that they lived in an economy that it was cheaper. The house to income was not even equivalent to what it is today. To enter where I live at right now, the average entry is you have to show about $120,000 to $140,000, whether you and your partner show both of their incomes. $120,000 to enter a home, right? So this is the difference. You could have a single mailman get a house by himself easier on one single income in our grandparents' generation. But again, in Rome, you act like the Romans. You can't see what society is and complain about what their generation was and what our generation is not. We got to learn that we have to literally adjust. How do you adjust? Dual incomes. How do you adjust? Teamwork. You know, a guy said to me the other day, he don't believe a woman could ever be a man's teammate. I looked at him like he was diabolical. I said, you crazy. I don't believe that statement, personally. But he's entitled to believe what he wants. If you believe that you're going to be the exception to the rule, in most cases, most people do not buy homes by themselves. Even if you are the exception to the rule, I'm the exception to the rule, but I don't make me the standard. Because it's not fair to make you the standard when you know that's not the standard. There's black, there's white, there's always gray. There's always a gray area. And sometimes the gray is actually bigger than the black and white. Right? I'm like, it's just what it is. People need to learn how to work together and understand that everything right now is getting harder to get sustained, to get anywhere further because of the economy. Look at insurances, to the moon. Insurance is to the moon right now, right? Let's keep going. Difficulty saving money for a down payment. That's what a lot of people are having a problem with, right? Is the difficulty of saving money to buy a home. Why? High rent, high insurance, car loans, credit card debt, student loans, child care, and costs that are hurdles for people to create the income to buy their down payment for a home. These are real logical things, right? So a lot of people are struggling. Most people do not, right? And I say this with conviction. Most people, parents do not hand them a check. Hey, here you go, Johnny. Here you go. I hate when black people say that about white people. There are a bunch of white people that ain't heard of no money. You got a bunch of broke ASS white people out here, just like you got broke black people and broke Hispanic people. Let's cut the crap. We got to stop putting each other on a pedestal. There are an exceptional group of white people that do. There are an exceptional group of white black people that do. But in most cases, broke black people and broke white people usually start at the back of the race. More white people are on welfare than black people. It's not my opinion. This is statistically fact. But sometimes we gotta go, as people, we gotta stop this garbage and making everyone, you had it easy. I know some broke white people that started from nothing. I got a homeboy, one of my closest friends, he started from the back of the race. Like back of the race. And he's a white boy. So we gotta stop all this crap, right? Housing market, an increasing difficult housing market, right? This is another thing that I'm starting to see with a lot of people. They don't even know the entry right now of acquiring a home is extremely more expensive. This is what you do. Anybody that's on my live right now, take out your phone after we get off this live, Google your house, and let's say Zillow. Scroll down on Zillow, and it'll date back from the first acquisition of that house. You'll see how much somebody bought it from. And then when you look at the top of Zillow, it'll tell you what the house is estimated at right now. So the estimate will be like, say, like $500,000. And when the first person bought that house, it was $100,000. Look at that growth. And now let's look at the income. The income don't even make sense to acquire that. It don't even make sense. It'll from 100,000 to 500,000 in a decade or 2 decades. It's crazy. Crazy. Who income increases like that? Who? Right? See, the goalpost has continued to move, and at the end of the day, we're not realizing as adults we got to start making prominent decisions. I always tell somebody, they be like, yo, Q, I want a nice car. You know what I always tell them? Buy a car 3 to 4 years old. And they be like, why? Because the depreciation will stop as fast as it does in the first 3 years. You bleed bad in the first 3 years when you buy a brand new car. You bleed bad. When you buy a car in the first 3 years, it bleeds so bad. Do me a favor, type in the first 3 years of depreciation when it comes to a car, please, if you don't mind. But again, these conversations is why we're not winning. I feel like financial literacy should come with adulthood, but again, we're in schools that's actually teaching us the lack of financial literacy. And it's not the teacher's fault, it's not the educator's fault, because a lot of them are stuck to curriculums, and they have to follow the curriculum. It'd be nice if I would have taught stocks. It was nice if I was taught delayed gratification as a kid. It was nice if I would have been shown how to make my money work. But again, in order to create the system working, everyone can't be rich. Somebody got to be comfortable flipping burgers. And it's sad to say that. Somebody got to be comfortable with losing for someone to win. Because if no one else runs the race, that be the person just going to win every single time. And this is what we got to realize as adults. We got to get out of our insecurities, because a lot of us are still fighting our childhood traumas as adults. You're an adult still fighting your childhood traumas, right? Think about that narrative. You're an adult that's still fighting your childhood traumas. On average, cars lose 10 to 15% of value each year. So in 3 years, that's 30%. So if you bought a car at 100,000, what is now, 70, 60,000? That's crazy. Damn. But again, we're so captivated by looking like we got so much money that we're not realizing that we're not building any wealth. If someone asks me, yo, what would be the first thing you think we should do with building wealth? I will always tell somebody to invest in a life partner. Finding a great life partner to make life make sense with. Because I'm going to tell you something. The greatest thing you can find is a safety net. And that goes for men and women, both sides. Finding someone that got your best interest, well, your best interest at hand. Like, I really care about the both of us. I think that is one of the greatest things that people can find on earth. Someone said pay yourself first, of course. But when you look at relationships, I've noticed that love don't pay bills. I'm sorry. Love don't pay no goddamn bills. Love don't pay bills, guys. I've met couples that are madly in love and they're madly struggling because of the fact that they're madly in love. But they're not thinking logical. You can have two people that can literally drive each other to the gates of hell and fail because they're not thinking logical. If you have two people that's not working together, you have two people that's working against each other. When you start realizing that in life, everything is about building, elevation, growth, being uncomfortable to become comfortable, then we'll learn that as a culture, we will not be able to move forward until we get comfortable with learning how to move forward. To my adults in my life, let's become students again. Let's stop looking at ourselves for what we used to be and learn what we can be. Until we get comfortable with learning again, a lot of people are going to keep failing. I don't want to look at my old self and say, damn, I could have done so much more. I could have done so much more. And the reason why a lot of us are going to say that is because if you come from a broken situation, how do you create new life? You break a new mate and you create another broken situation. Look at that. Let's just listen to that before we get out of here today. You come from a broken situation and yet and still go out in life and create another broken situation and to wonder why nothing is being fixed. Because in order to fix it, we got to fix the broken situations. Otherwise, we're going to continue to have the constant memorization of the problems. We got to wake up, guys, and grow the hell up.